Now, quitters are self-explanatory. We're not going to talk about them today. But campers are a fascinating group because they make up so much of the world. They're those people who start out climbing, as I think we all do, with hope and excitement and optimism. And then somewhere along that ascent, things get in the way. We lose belief in ourselves or in the cause. Or we try something, we give our full heart to it, and we fail, we fall short, we get shattered. It sends a trauma like a vibration through our soul. Or we get to a nice flat spot on the mountain, and we say, this is where I stop. To go any higher is just too much pain and suffering. I don't want to go any higher. Or maybe we feel cynicism pouring down around our brains like a prison. Or we wake up one day and the world has changed so fast that we just don't know if we are equipped to attack it anymore. Or maybe we're plodding up the mountain slowly but surely, one barrier after the next, like brick walls. They just keep getting in our way, sapping our energy, killing our momentum. And we get shoved to the sidelines, sometimes into places we don't want to be. And now we're camping out. Personally, we begin to stagnate. But more importantly than that, all our energy, all our potential, all our life force, it's lost to the world. Climbers are a rare group. If I could see, I'd be looking at a lot of climbers out here. I think they're those people who continue to figure out a way to grow and evolve and explore and challenge themselves every day of their lives to the day they die. So I think the question for us is, how do we climb when it makes so much more sense? It is so much easier to camp. I know about camping, well, because when I was a freshman in high school, I got totally derailed. I went blind from this very rare eye disease, sort of like winning the lottery, but the opposite. And remember being led into school for the first time as a newly blinded person, being led to class, being led to the bathroom, being led into the cafeteria, sitting at a table by myself, listening to all the excitement and laughter and joy and food fights passing me by. And I was afraid to go blind and see darkness. That was scary. But way scarier was that was all this fear that I would be shoved to the sidelines into this dark place. I'd be left there. I'd be forgotten. No more food fights. A life lived for nothing. A life that was meaningless. That was way more terrifying than anything blindness could do to me. And I could still see just a little bit out of my right eye. And one of the things I could still do is I pressed my face right up against the screen. I could watch TV for maybe a few more months. And one show I was watching, they were focusing on this guy named Terry Fox. Terry was Canadian, and he had lost a leg to cancer. And he was still in the hospital when he decided he was going to run across Canada. This is a marathon a day. This is thousands of miles. This is not the normal decision a person in his situation is supposed to make. You know, what do you have to do when that happens? Most people just dig in, right? They curl up in a ball. They protect the little bit they have left. Protect, protect, protect. But nobody taught that to Terry. See, he understood intuitively that between the things that happen to you and the ways that you're supposed to react, there is a space. And in that space, there's a choice. And he chose to attack. And see, he was in the hospital when he was watching kids younger than him die of cancer. And instead of allowing that tragedy to crush him, he gathered it up and he converted it into something bigger. a kind of darkness into vision. And he used it as energy to propel him every faltering step along that road. The miles, for sure, they took a terrible toll on his body. You know, his stump covered with blisters, the look on his face, an absolute contradiction, full of exhaustion, yet at the same time full of exaltation. And I thought to myself, there's something that at the time I could only describe it as light, that seemed to be able to feed on frustration, on setbacks, on failures, to use those things as fuel. The greater the challenge, the brighter that light just kept burning. And I hoped it existed in me. And I realized that vision came from inside of us, came from here. You know, I'd spent all this time looking out into the world, trying to respond and react and reeling and reacting. And I needed to turn inward to that light of Terry and commit to it, to growing it, to nurturing it, to enabling it to ignite into the world. Like a headlamp in a storm, to light my way forward and emerge on the other side of that storm, not just damaged as little as possible, but actually stronger and better. And it was a few months after that, I got this letter in Braille. They were taking blind kids rock climbing for the very first time, part of this rec program. And I ran my hand up the wall of my room and I thought, who would be stupid enough to take a blind kid rock climbing? There's gotta be liability issues around this. So I signed up. I was tired of building walls around myself, of protecting myself against that loss. I wanted to tear down those walls. I wanted to attack like Terry. And I found through trial and error that I could use my hands and my feet as my eyes. And I could do a pull-up, and I could scan my hand across the face. Just before I was ready to lose strength in my forearms and fingers, I had to fall. I'd find just enough to grasp onto to keep me stuck to the face a few seconds longer so I could pull up and do another scan across the face. It was a long, slow, tedious process, hanging and scanning and pulling up blood and skin on the rock. When I got to the top, and it was so exhilarating, it was so vibrant. It was almost painful. It was like a rebirth. I gotta say though, as beautiful and vibrant as it was also scary. And there's one thing that really hasn't changed that much since that very first time I went rock climbing, like 30 years ago? And that's the reach. In a way, it doesn't really matter whether you can see or not. I think we're all in the same boat. We're all reaching into darkness. We're predicting and calculating and hoping and praying. Our algorithms, our software, it all leads us to believe that we may find what we're looking for. But we understand there is no guarantee. It's that moment when we've reached out, our minds, our bodies, we've committed to the reach. We know it's almost impossible to turn back. These fears, they're overwhelming. The fear of flopping on our face and making a terrible mistake that affects so many around us. The fear that we're not as good at something as we want it to be. Or the fear we give everything we have and we still fall a little bit short. Or the fear as we get older that we climb as high as we can go. There's nowhere else to go but down. These fears, they conspire against us and they paralyze us. So that maybe we decide to stop reaching. When I think there's a big difference between many people and those who embrace the reach. They understand life is an ongoing, never-ending process of reaching out into the darkness when we don't know exactly what we'll find. Constantly reaching towards immense possibilities. They're always unseen, yet they're sensed. While so many others allow that darkness to paralyze them. I reached out that day. I know you guys reach out every day. And it has led to some great adventures around the world. By the way, I should back up and I should tell you that I am not like a crazy blind Evel Knievel. like just taking a massive amount of risk and hoping to live through it. I think blind is fine, blind and stupid, that's fatal. These things have to be sustainable, right? I don't see myself as an adrenaline junkie or a crazy guy. I see myself the way maybe you see yourselves, as a problem solver, as an innovator. Right? I love looking at things that maybe people see as impossible, improbable, unlikely, and then figuring out a way forward, pioneering possibilities. And you look at these photos of these people doing on the surface, and it just looks like such a crazy thing. But yet, what you can't see is the years and years of preparation behind that picture. All the time and blood and effort spent building up this infrastructure of success, this foundation of success. Discovering these new ideas and new strategies and systems and tools and technologies, and then integrating them all together to make yourself safer, more efficient, more productive, more nimble, ready to seize hold of the opportunities in front of you. And a blind person gets really good, first of all, at doing this. You couldn't survive as a blind person without having all these signature systems for, knowing how big a room is by the echo, or like matching your socks. Safety pins on the toes if they're black, on the heels if they're blue, on the top if they're brown. Or actually, I just started buying black socks recently. That hit me. I should have been doing that for years. Or knowing how to identify money by the smell. Can anyone do that? I'm just kidding. I can't do that. Back in college, I'm going to admit this. Back in college, I would have this. I'd be talking to a girl in a bar, and she'd say, I like talking to you because I don't feel pressure. You're not judging me the way the other sighted guys are. You're judging me by my inner beauty. And I went with that, but I actually had a handshake that I invented with my male friend. The way he'd come over and specifically shake my hand and tell me what she looked like. So, sorry. Yeah. Blind guys are pigs too. But there's always a way forward. Always. But they don't always start in such a glamorous way, right? Like when I met my friend Kyle. We were running a No Barriers event. And